Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Employee to Boss podcast. I'm your host, Haley Hayhurst, and today's episode is all about personal growth to better serve your clients and give you more business growth. My guest today is life coach Jenna Allen. Jenna Allen is a passionate life coach and aspiring motivational speaker. She shares her journey, and she's a newer entrepreneur, so she is able to share the mindset shifts that she's had to have early on in business, some early moves that she's made in business, as well as just some advice from a newer perspective, which I think is always great to hear, someone who's in the thick of growing their business. So we talk a lot about mindset shifts that she underwent, particularly in the area of sales. So we talk about genuine selling, how she serves her clients, and also how she used to sell products and now she basically sells herself as a life coach and her services. So all the changes that had to come with that. So let's get right into this episode with Jenna Allen. Hey Jenna, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So if you wanted to start off by telling us about your journey from employee to boss, I would love to get to know you more and learn more about what you do now, your experience before, and just the journey along the way.
Yeah, so I've been in customer service for like 10 years, and there are certain jobs that I still kind of like, but for the most part I've just always had this desire to like work from home and have that freedom and become a life coach. And I've always been passionate about business. I think that there's so many opportunities that go with it, but I also just think it's I feel like everything in life has pros and cons, and I think it's more of just being able to be brave enough to take that leap of faith, because it is a lot of business is commission based and client based. And so it definitely can be scary at first. But I feel like if you work really hard and you have that passion and that mindset to be able to just go all for it, I feel like you can be successful with it. I myself have struggled a little bit with it just because I am a life coach, and a lot of people think that life coaching and therapy are the same, but they're not. They're
Mhm.
very different. And so that has been a little bit of a struggle, but I mean, I make it work, you know. I've always tried to figure things out, but I don't know, I love the business world, and I love just the idea of, helping people in a way, as well as like working for myself. So
Yeah, totally. So you said that you were in sales commission before and now you're life coaching. What did that transition look like?
sale I worked for TELUS actually for a little bit there, but I just found like I struggled with the sales just because I found it was just so forced,
Mhm.
and I didn't make any money. I was working more than I was making, and I just really struggled with it. And I also worked with Arbonne for a little bit. Like I did the multi-level marketing, and I struggled with that because it didn't feel genuine,
Mhm.
right? Whereas with life coaching, it's like I can pick and choose, right?
Right.
And it feels more genuine because I actually want to help people, and life coaching I feel like is more of a necessity
Yeah.
than, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Arbonne's products. There's companies that I'm like, okay, that's beneficial. I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm just saying, like, for me personally, I feel like people are more going to be like, oh, I could use a life coach than, you know,
Yeah,
so.
totally. So
Yeah.
when you decided to actually make that transition, what was your first step from going from other organizations that you were at to your own business?
It was more of like I think it was like a mindset change as
Mhm.
well,
Yeah.
because I didn't, when I was working with other multi-level marketing companies, I didn't feel genuine. Like it just didn't feel real. Like it
Mhm.
felt, and I have nothing, like I'm not against multi-level marketing companies. Like there's a lot of companies out there that I actually really do respect, but it's the cold calling that I have a really hard time with.
Yeah.
I'm like the way people will like, they'll make friends with you just to sell you their products.
Mhm.
Right? So it didn't feel genuine, and, like, I'm a genuine person. I can't do the whole cold calling. Like, I don't know, to me, I was just like, I can't do that. And so I was just like, I need to do something that I know I have personal experience from, right? And I feel like with life coaching, I have the personal experiences, like, I've gone through stuff that it's not just the education, but I feel like to be a good life coach, like you have to have your own story. I think it's important to have something for your clients to relate to. And I think that was more of the transition, is like going from selling products to just like, I'm actually in a way selling my story in a way,
Mhm.
just kind of sharing my story with people and helping people where they can relate, and then where they can be like, oh, okay, like this is what you did to improve your life. I can do the same thing. So,
Totally.
yeah.
Totally. So what were some things that you had to overcome? Did you have to get an education in life coaching, a certificate? What did that all look like?
I had to get a certificate, yeah. And I also went through my own stuff in life. I never thought I would become a life coach. I always tell people too, like the life I have now, I never would have thought, like because of my choices in the past were not great. So I was like, you when you're in a dark place and you're in a place of like self-destruction and like drinking and partying and all this stuff, you don't realize what you're actually doing.
Hmm.
You think that in your head you're like, oh, I'm just having fun, right? But no, I was not making good choices. But now the healed version of me sees that. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I was definitely not in a good place. But like the unhealed version of me was like, oh, I'm nothing's wrong with me. Like I'm, like, so I think it's also just transitioning my mindset has been like the biggest thing
Yeah.
of my life coaching journey, and like just my personal journey with my growth. So
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about mindset and kind of the transition that you had to take. What are some commonalities that you see among your clients or just even in yourself that you really had to overcome?
trust issues, 100%. Trust issues is such a common thing. And like, I think trust issues and hyper independence kind of go hand in hand. But like, I struggled with trusting people, like even friendships,
Hmm.
for many years. It's gotten better. Like, I don't feel that way anymore. But my thing is, I feel like, and this is what I tell like, this is one of the things I'm super passionate about when it comes to mindset is when we go through a traumatic relationship or something traumatic in general, like, it kind of makes our brain think the worst case scenario, and then our mindset is automatically like, well, that's just going to happen to me for the rest of my life, or I'm never going to find anyone. Like, we kind of get sucked into this mindset of self-sabotaging because we're so used to like going through bad things, and then we're just like, oh well, that I'm just going to assume every bad thing's going to happen. And what that does, it actually sets us up for more bad things,
Mm,
because that was something I had to overcome. And then that's
yeah.
something that I've helped my clients overcome, is understanding that even when it comes to dating, is that just because you had a bad experience once doesn't mean you're going to have a bad experience again. And also looking within yourself of what you're attracting too. Looking at yourself is a big thing too, is being like, okay, well, why, what is the common denominator? Like, what am I doing that is attracting these people?
Yeah.
Right? Because we have to like really look within as well.
Mhm.
It has to be like, for me, I had to be like, okay, I'm attracting these people in the past because I have these issues,
Yeah.
right? And so I think it's important to retrain our mindset into not only looking within ourselves, but also realizing that like there are good things out there. There are good things in life, and that it can get better. You just have to like put in the work.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with that. And I mean, to connect that to business is when you're, maybe in your first starting phases. I remember when I first started my podcasting company, Espresso Podcast Production, there was a lot that I had to overcome of like saying yes to a bunch of new clients, saying yes to any clients who would pay me money. And while I did work with amazing people then, the people I worked with now, 4 years later, I'm much more aligned, but it's like definitely a whole attraction thing. So how does that relate to your business too?
I think it's just more of, I just kind of work on myself really. And like, that's where for me, like, I'm a firm believer that in order for me to be the best coach, I have to be the best version of myself.
Yeah.
And I know that none of us are perfect. I know we all make mistakes, but like for me, one of my things is I always share things with my clients. Like, there's certain things, obviously, like there's boundaries around it, but I really like to make my clients feel like they're heard and like they're understood. And I
Yeah.
think being able to relate, I've talked to people and they've said they would rather have a life coach that has a story too, that can relate, because I feel like, with therapy, it's a lot different, right? Like therapists, they have more strict rules around what they can share and what they can't share, right? So whereas life coaching, you can kind of relate. So for me, the mindset thing is really just, I feel like I'm in a good mindset now because I'm also in therapy. Like, I have my own trauma coach technically. So I feel like it's just really just putting yourself first, I guess, and like making sure you're healthy for you to be able to coach your clients in the best way you can. I hope
Yeah.
that makes sense.
No, that does make sense. That makes a lot
Yeah.
of sense. And I mean, it's kind of one of those things where a lot of us are our first clients, just that's how we kind of start our business. So I'm sure that's the same with you of like you couldn't coach people on their life or, I want to talk more about like what life coaching actually looks like, but I'm sure you couldn't do that unless you had already gone through some experiences where you had to overcome things.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. Like I don't even think I would like want to be a life coach unless I actually had personal experiences.
What is a life coach to you? What does a life coach help with, and who are your clients?
What I do in life coaching is you give people basic life skills. I help my clients around like mindset, self-awareness, self-love, boundaries. I
Hmm.
do a little bit of time management. I feel like every life coach is different. Like I have a very certain way that I coach my clients. Like I give them personal homework. So it's very self-paced.
Yeah,
And what we'll do is we'll do a free consultation call. We'll go over their goals, their values. And like I always ask them, like, what are you looking for in a life coach? I actually make them fill out a document of everything they're looking for just so I kind of know how to coach them. There's some people that I can't coach, right? There's just certain things that I cannot coach on just because of education, right? Laws and rules and stuff. Like I do have a
yeah,
contract and everything with my clients, but for me I just give them like example. I have had one client where I'll help him and sometimes he'll just need to talk or I'll just give him like a list of homework to do.
yeah,
That homework is based on what their goals are. And sometimes I'll even cover like a self-care book and I'll cover the cost of that, right? So
yeah,
it's really for me, I'm very goal based. Like it's very, very focused on what their needs are and what their goals are. And
yeah,
then I find the homework and I find the things for them. I do my own work on my end and then I send them stuff and then they'll tell me how it's going or I'll check in with them. And then sometimes there's been a few times where they're like, this has really helped me. And I've built relationships with my clients. So which is awesome, right?
yeah.
And I've seen growth in my clients. So that's kind of my approach, but I feel like every life coach might look different. So
Yeah, I like that. Everyone takes their own approach to it. So thank you for laying that out. I was curious. So
yeah.
something we were talking about before we got on this call is how our experience can really impact the way that we live. And as you mentioned, you are newer in your entrepreneur journey. So it's cool to get your perspective and you're in the thick of it trying to build your business and figure out all of the things. So what in your life do you think really led you to starting your business and how is it going in your first bit of business?
I just didn't want to work for someone else anymore.
Hmm.
Now I am actually trying to find another job because I'll be honest, I'm the type of person that's always transparent because I feel like there's so many people out there that hype up business and entrepreneur. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of pros to it, but I think that there's more people that need to be like, this is the reality of it. Like
Yeah,
this is the hard
totally.
part. And for me, like I'm not gonna lie, I've had maybe like in the total life coaching, I've maybe had like 4 clients.
Hmm.
It is not easy. Like I love what I do, but I always tell people, and this is be the biggest advice I'll give to anyone who's new in the business world is have another job because you're not going to see results right away. It is so much marketing. It is so much more work than people realize. And like you could put in hours and hours and hours and still not get results at times. Like that's just the reality of an entrepreneur. And it also depends on the business you're in. If you open up a restaurant or a coffee shop, that is a whole other different type of business, right? Whereas if you're working online, like example, like the cleaning business is amazing. That's a great business because everyone wants to hire cleaners, right? Whereas if you do like products, that might be a little bit different, right? And I feel like every business has different clients. So it's not easy, but I mean, I haven't given up. Like I still love what I do, but I am looking for another job,
Yeah,
right? Like, I mean, I have one, but it's not consistent enough. Like, I'm trying to find something else so I can actually invest in my business.
yeah.
So for me, I'm actually transitioning from life coaching to motivational speaking because
Mm,
I'm still doing life coaching, but I want to do the motivational speaking route because I love talking on podcasts. Like I love talking about this stuff. Like I'm so passionate about it. And I've seen the amount of lives that have been changed from motivational speaking. And so like I want to transition into that. So that's kind of where I'm at right now, is transitioning into that. And I have my first speaking gig in April. So
Congrats.
thank you. So, I mean, I feel like it's different for everybody, right? And I
Oh,
feel like it's when you build a business, make sure you're looking at what type of business are you building, and just having the realistic expectation of understanding like it is going to take you time to get there. And it's not that you can't, but it's important to like not expect results right away, because it
yeah.
does take time, and it takes time to build relationships with clients and marketing, and there's just so much that goes into it.
There is, there is. Yeah. So I really appreciate that transparency. I totally agree. I talk to a lot of people on this podcast who talk about the transition plans, corporate exit strategies, or how to actually build up to getting to where you can have your business full time. I
Yeah.
started my business during the pandemic and was lucky that I was able to get clients really fast for my
Yeah.
business, but that was mainly because I had all the time during COVID to do it.
Yeah.
So, there's definitely a lot of different strategies, and like you're saying, there's absolutely no shame in going to find a job to be able to invest in your passions. And I think that that
Exactly.
is a huge thing that a lot of people don't realize. They think there's shame in it, or they overthink it. They're like, "Oh, I'm not a full-time entrepreneur. No one's going to take me seriously." But that could not be farther from the truth. So, I really appreciate that transparency.
Yeah, of course. I think there's so much on social media too, where it's like you see people get these fancy cars and traveling, and I'm just
Mhm.
like, which is great, but we need more realistic conversations. Like we need
Yes.
more like, okay, how did you get there though? Like, you know, and it's just like that's where like I do things like a little bit differently, as I try to just be more honest and transparent with the audience, because I think that that is actually going to help them be more successful than just throwing in their face, oh, I have a rich life and I have all this and I have this. Okay, but how did you get there? What
Yep.
did you have to do to receive that luxury? Because nobody gets that overnight.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I am about to hit 100 episodes on this podcast. By the time this
Congratulations.
comes out, I will already have 100, and episode 100 is all about my journey of the past 4 years of like
Yeah.
step by step what I did to get here. So, yeah, it's not like an overnight thing.
No,
Things have
definitely not.
changed. Things change
Yeah.
every single quarter, it feels like, just trying to advance and get better and make more money and have better strategies. So, totally. That's a very important part of entrepreneurship that a lot of people don't really discuss.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I really have loved the information you shared on mindset and how you help your clients and where you see your business going with motivational speaking. That's very exciting, and I can't wait to listen.
Thank you.
Where can people connect with you, Jenna?
Just on Instagram or TikTok.
Okay.
Those are my two like main platforms. So for TikTok, it's just Coach with Jenna, like
Okay.
no spaces. And then for Instagram, it's Coach underscore with underscore Jenna underscore. Yeah.
Perfect. Awesome. I will put
Yeah.
all of those in the show notes. And Jenna, last question I have for you, and I wrap up every podcast episode with this question. I would love it if you could share 3 action steps for the audience to take to move forward in their life or business based on this conversation, just to wrap it up.
Yeah. So number one, marketing. Prioritize marketing, go to Google Ads, go to Facebook. Actually, I've had other entrepreneurs that tell me like offer free, like depending on your business, offer free services on
Mhm.
Facebook Marketplace. I mean, be careful obviously with Facebook too, because Facebook can be not the greatest place, but marketing I would say is huge. That's what's going to attract you your clients. Is marketing is I would say probably like 70% of a business.
Yeah.
And also seek advice. That's my second advice, is seek advice from other entrepreneurs. Do your research, listen to podcasts. My other advice is really figure out what your niche is. What is your like brand of clients? Like, what are the things that you offer? Like, really getting to know your business and what you can offer is also going to help you know how to market better and know how to attract the clients that you need. So, those are like the most advice I can give right now. And also just be patient with it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Well, thank you so much. All of your links will be in the show notes, and I really appreciate you sharing your story and all this value on the show.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Employee to Boss podcast. If you made it to the end of this episode, I hope that you implement the actionable steps from this week's experts so you can get started with your business today. Please rate, review, and subscribe to the Employee to Boss podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. It helps more than you could ever imagine. Remember, a little progress each day leads to big results. We come out with a new episode every Tuesday. To access our show notes, transcripts, and courses, please check out espressopodcastproduction.com.